Learning Hilchos Melochim Perek Yud Halacha Vov, the sixth Halacha, Mipi Kabbalah. We have a tradition. Shebnei Noach Asurim, that Bnei Noach are forbidden to go to the Peirush Ba'abos Behemo in crossbreeding animals of different species, Ba'akovas Elon, and crossbreeding species of trees alone, Bilvad. But they are not put to death for it. The goy shehiko Yisrael, the goy who strikes a Jew afilu chol boy kolshu, even if it was only a minor wound, al vishu chayav miso, even though he's liable for death, he ain't an error. He's not put to death. Here's a Mishnah cites a brisa in Sanhedrin 56b. There's Oimam. That we're talking about to wear klayim, to seed klayim, a mixture, meaning two animals together, two woolen and flax together, or to seed klayim, asurim, they're forbidden only in mixing a donkey with a horse, for example, and putting two species of trees together. The Gemara explains the reasoning. The Rambam says that the Halacha is not so, because if it would be forbidden, there's 8 mitzvahs that Ben Noach would be killed for it. We know there's only 7. But still, since Shmuel explains the words of Rabbi Elazar, that he's of the opinion, we have Bagabos also Ba'akovo, Behema, Akovas Elon, even though they're not killed for it. It's a simon. He has to explain that it's a sign that they're not killed for it. Otherwise, he would have 8. The Lecha Mishnah argues it's not a good enough reason. The Gemara discusses Reb Shimon, and whenever the Gemara discusses according to a certain opinion, we accord with that opinion. And Reb Shimon says many are also warned about magic, and the Rambam does not codify the Halacha according to him. So there's no proof that Halacha is like Eliezer, and that as Shmuel explains his reasoning, because the Derech of the Gemara is at times to explain the reasoning of a Tana, even though the Halacha is not like him. But the source of the Rambam is in Kedushin 39a. Rabbi Yochanan says that we receive Malchus on Klayim, not Torah. The Gemara questions, we don't climb a divrei seifrim. If climb is only rabbinical, you don't get lashes for it. And the answer is, Klaya Kerem is Minatera. Kan Bakovas Elon. That here it's when you're mixing species of trees like Shmuel. It would seem that Allah is like Shmuel, who says in Eliezer, Shemener is forbidden to mix 2 species of trees, and also forbidden to mix species of animals. The Rambam does not codify the Halacha that they're liable for death, because in Sanhedrin 57a, they said that only on 7 mitzvahs Ben Noach is put to death, and not on others. Yes, in Mishnah is that the opinion should, therefore, even though the Bnei Keturah were commanded on Milo, if they don't do so, they're not killed. And on 7 mitzvahs, Ben Noach was killed, not on 8. And nobody, Bnei Keturah are obligated to circumcise. Although that's a positive commandment. The Radbaz cites Eliezer the opinion that they were warned about mixing animals and mixing trees, and he questions why the Rambam left out the castration that's forbidden and dealing with magic that's forbidden, which is mentioned in the Brisa. The Hilchos Yesodei says that the Rambam codifies the Halacha like Eliezer, even though he's an individual, because the Gemara says, how do I know this? Here's the source. The Shmuel says, it says in the Pasuk, my edicts shall you keep, and chukim, that means those edicts that I've given you, that which are, an animal should not be, species should not be mixed, and your field shall not be seeded with climb. And that would seem from the Gemara the reasoning of Rabbi Eliezer, and not questioning where do we know something, and therefore it would seem that the Racham also admit that this is forbidden. And he adds further that Chukim Shechagati Lochva, that whenever the Talmud uses this language, these edicts that I have previously edicted, you find this in Kedushin 39a, that the laws that are forbidden to Bnei Noach on animals and trees, you should keep. So it would seem that that's the halacha. And he pushes it off, that's not approved, because the Talmud, we don't bring this drasha for Bnei Noach, only regarding when he created the world. A man was created not to change the order of his creations by creating a new type of tree or a new type of animal. But it says limineu, that they should come out from the earth limineu to each of their species. So it's said by animals, and also it says by trees. The Ran says that the droshes Rukaisai Tishmoiru is even according to the Racham, who say that Menoach is not admonished from doing mixing, and it means those laws that I gave you as ordered in creation, not to mix species. I'm telling you, to Yisrael they should keep. Only in Sinai they were commanded, not Bnei Noach. And Tosfos says this is Sanhedrin Samachom Aleph. The Chassam Sofer says, according to Tosfos, that the Chacham, there is no forbiddenness to Ben Noach by itself to mix species. The forbiddenness is only Yisrael to tell Ben Noach to do something for him, is because Amir Lenochi was, because we know, just like by Shabbos, you can't tell a guy to do something which a Jew is forbidden to do, as we learn in Shabbos 150a. And when the goy has a portion of the fruit and he does it for himself, in order to make the fruits better, there is no forbiddenness. It's permitted to Israel to benefit from the portion of the fruits which he would get, even though the goy is doing it on his property. Those Klayim, Rambam Paskins in Perek Aleph Halacha Vav, it's forbidden for a Jew to permit a goy that he should graft trees. Because the Mishnah explains that he doesn't, according to the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, that it's forbidden for Ben Noach to graft trees. He says it's forbidden only to tell the goy, and to do that which is forbidden to us. Because the Mishnah forbids Yisrael to give an animal to a goy, to cause it to be crossbred with another species, because in Bava Metzia there's a question if this statement of goy is forbiddenness and it is a negative commandment, and the Gemara does not determine whether it's so or not. But the Mishnah Melech questions here the Rambam forbids Ben Noach from by himself, not because it's forbidden to tell a goy they should do something that's for Jews forbidden. And he also infers this from the Lashon Rambam Hilchos Klayim. He doesn't say it's forbidden to tell him Noach. He says it's forbidden to permit him. That means that intrinsically the goy by himself is forbidden. We can't permit him to do it, as it says, do not place a stumbling block before a blind person. So a blind person referring to somebody who doesn't know it's forbidden. He's blind to the idea. Adrisha forbids Yisrael to give an animal to a goy to cause it to be bred with a different species, because the name Noach are admonished from mixing trees and species of animals. And the Rambam writes this in Peirush HaMeir, Hilchos Melochim. The Shach questions him, there's only 7 mitzvahs, even though according to Eliezer they also have this forbiddenness on trees and animals. We go according to Rabbanan. In Perek Vav, there's no remez to it at all. And Rae Gann Family point out, you see in Perek Yud, those Melochim. Perek Yud of Melochim in Halacha Vav in our Halacha. Rabbi Akiva adds, it's a mistake. It should say Perek Yud instead of Perek Vav. Shulchan Aruch in Siman 297, it says Halacha that it's forbidden for a Jew to let his animal be given to a goy to cause it to be mixed with the different species. And the Gemara cites the Noach is commanded not to do it, as we find in Melochim, Perek Vav, and so the Drisha writes. And the Shach made a mistake, and the reason the Rambam and Shmuel are of that opinion, and the reason that the Rambam is because Shmuel agrees with Rabbi Eliezer, and he cites the Gesher Mishnah here in our Halacha. The Chidah cites in Shuvas Hardvaz, it's forbidden to Yisrael to permit an animal of a Noach to be mixed with the different species, because telling a Noach is a forbiddenness if it's forbidden to a Jew. The Ravaz writes the same thing in Hilchos Yesodei. It's forbidden to have a ben Noach graft one species of a tree on the other because of the reasoning of telling a goy to do something which a Jew is forbidden. The Chidah questions here, the Rambam codifies the Halacha like Eliezer, that mixing of species, both by trees and by animals, is forbidden in essence by a goy. And even here, the Raz explains, like Eliezer, and he says, why doesn't he say the Halacha is like Ab Shimon? The Chidah cites the Shlit HaGodol, the name of the Riyaz. The Ben Noach is forbidden to mixed species and of trees, and somebody does one tree on another tree through a goy, he transgresses on before the even I see the Michshel. The Ben Noach is forbidden to do so, and to mix trees if they're not the same species. Regarding the Shach, that there are 7 mitzvahs b'nei Noach and not 8. That regarding that question, he asks from the Smag that who wrote the Noach were forbidden to castrate as well, and he adds that on 7 mitzvahs Noach is killed, and still they are forbidden with castration because there are things that are forbidden to Ben Noach, and they are not killed for them. And he discusses if the Yerushalmi is of the opinion that when it says the edicts that I edicted, meaning in the norm of the world, is said to the whole world, or only according to Eliezer. And he cites in the Rosh that it's forbidden to leave a goy, that he should graft one tree of Yisrael onto another tree that's forbidden, as we find in Shabbos. As we find in Shabbos 139a, even Kishuta Bekam also Niach Lekus Lizroya. That there's even one item in a vineyard is forbidden to be seated. It would seem that the law is not like Eliezer, but forbidden. It's forbidden to tell a goy to do something for a Jew. The Drisha learns that the Torah opinions like the Rambam, and Chidah questions. The Rosh disagrees with the Rambam. The Chidah cites that Rabbeinu Yerucham and HaGodol also agree with the Rosh, not like the Rambam. The Rae Gann Yosef explains the words of the Beis Yosef in the Rosh. Maybe is of the opinion there's no difference if it's because of placing a stumbling block before someone or because you are forbidden to tell a goy. Shach Sam Sofer says there's a difference by Yisrael, who is a partner with a goy in a tree, and the goy grafted for himself. If a ben Noach is forbidden, then Yisrael can't permit him. Ben Noach is permitted, there's only the forbiddenness of saying something. When Ben Noach did it himself, it would be permissible. And he infers that the Rav and the Rashba opinion like the accord with the Rambam, that Ben Noach is forbidden to graft or mix species, because the Raiva did not disagree with him. And this is in the Rashbi Shans, there's also opinions like the Rambam. Chazon Ish cites Rishonim that agree with the Rambam. Rishonim disagree. They discuss in the Yerushalmi that Rabbi Yosef mentioned before, and we found in the Gemara. Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah, illicit relationships, it says it's forbidden to tell a goy to castrate an animal, and the goy, if he took it for himself and castrated it, it's permitted. And if the Jew sort of tricked in order to have it done, we punish him with a fine, and he has to sell it to another Jew. The Maggid Mishnah cites Bava Metzia. There's a question if there's a forbiddenness of telling a goy about castration. He explains that the Rambam codifies the Halacha, even though we don't say that's a mitzvah, that a goy is commanded not to castrate, you can't tell him to castrate. Because every mitzvah, there's an issur of telling a goy to do something which a Jew is forbidden to do, as we find by shiur, that if you tell a goy, please thresh the wheat and have the ox that's threshing, and the goy, the goy is going to have the ox that's threshing muzzled, it's a problem. The Ma'abid is of the opinion Shebenoach Mitzuva al Sirus, he's commanded not to castrate, and he says to do, if you tell a goy to castrate, you transgress on that which is a stumbling block before a goy, and it would seem that would be the case according to the Rambam's opinion. Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah, he mentions regarding nichush, which is magic, the incident of Eliezer Eved Avram, who says if this and this will happen, and the Rebbe brings from Chum, that's not called nichush. Nichush means causing the future. And he argues that the Rambam is of the opinion that the forbiddenness it's forbidden. It means you don't rely on it. You can't rely on what you say through nichush. The question is how the Rambam think about tzaddikim, Eliezer, Yonasan, and show that they came and fell through in this halacha. As the Mishnah cites infers from the words of the Rae Gann that nichush is foretelling the future is forbidden to Ben Noach because Eliezer was a Ben Noach. Hilchos Yesodei forbids the nachesh even to Ben Noach. Because the Mishnah says that's only according to the opinion that Ben Noach is told that he's not allowed to do magic. But the halacha is not so. There's only in 7 mitzvahs where they commanded, like we learned in Perek Tes and Melochim, Halacha Aleph, not 8. Rae Yosef argues there's no proof from what the Rambam only mentions 7, because by us he writes that they're forbidden also on mixing species with the animals or trees, even though it's not one of the 7. And that itself is a proof that Ben Noach is not commanded on Kishuv, because here he only mentions them and he does not mention the forbiddenness of magic. The Kesef Mishnah understood in the opinion of the Rae Gann that Melochim is forbidden to do magic, but the Birkei Yosef is of the opinion that what he brings in Agos Maimonides that Melochim is commanded on magic, it doesn't mean to say so la'alocha, but they say this according to Rabbi Yossi. The great Goyim of our times discuss why an esrog that is grafted is possible if there's no forbiddenness for a goy to graft. And Levush explains that it was done since a sin was done with it with the grafting. And there are those say that even a goy is forbidden on grafting. The Birkei Yosef brings it from the Shus Yaakov. There are those who say that a goy is commanded not to graft, and he adds the words of the Levush are difficult. Because the Rambam, Perek Tes and Melochim, Perek Aleph says the climb, and so in the Kesef Mishnah, Allah is not like Eliezer. Ben Noach is not commanded regarding mixing of species. Chidok questions the Rambam here says specifically that Ben Noach is forbidden to mix species, and the Levush is correct. Esrog that's mixed Avera was done with it. It's the guy who grafted it. He cites that the Goras Maimonides Nariaz that the Shlit Geburim bring Ben Noach is commanded on grafting a tree, one species on another. And a goy that struck a Jew, even if he just hurt him, even though he's liable for misa, he's not put to death. I guess the Mishnah cites Sanhedrin, Amar Chanina. A guy who struck a Jew is chayav misa because it says even by Moshe Rabbeinu when the Mitzri struck a Jew, he saw there's no one there, therefore he killed the Jew. And according to the Rambam, even though he's liable for death penalty from heaven, Ben Noach is not put to death for it. And he recites from Makis. The Gemara discusses whether a ger toishav, a citizen dweller who keeps the 7 mitzvahs, who killed a Jew, but he goes into exile cities, or he's killed. And if we'll say Ben Noach is killed, even if he struck a Jew, he more should have said, "What do I care that he killed him or not? He has to die because he struck him." And thus, even though he's liable, we have to infer that he's not liable for death penalty. What it says by Moshe Rabbeinu, he looked here and there. That's just a reliance to say but in fact, we don't learn from there that he's liable for a death penalty. The Mashor pushes off the proof because they're talking about by accidentally, and therefore the question is. Only because he killed a Jew, not for striking him. He's not liable for striking a Jew unintentionally. And here it's talking about that the goy struck the Jew willfully, and therefore he's liable for the death penalty. And maybe he would be put to death. And he then decides that this is not correct. Here it's talking about by a citizen dweller who killed another citizen dweller. There's a question whether he's liable for the death penalty, unintentional murder, or he goes to the city of refuge. But there it's only if he killed, not if he struck. And therefore the Gemara is only talking about killing and not striking, but we're not referring there to a citizen dweller who's a non-Jew who killed unintentionally a Jew. Therefore the Mashor says the reasoning of the Rambam is it's not counted in the 7 mitzvahs, proves that he's not killed by Bezdin, as he would be by the other mitzvahs, where we say the warning to forbiddenness causes them to have death penalty. But when he strikes a Jew, he's liable for death penalty, because there's a concept of meaning if you see him drowning and he's liable for death penalty from heaven, you don't try to save him. But at the same time, if he could be put to death by drowning, you don't drown him either. We see from the words of the Medrash that are brought down in Rashi that Moshe Rabbeinu saw that there's no one around. That he saw that, and Rashi explains he saw there was no one who's going to ever come out of this mitzvah would be a saintly person. That's only Moshe Rabbeinu could see, but not anybody else could see this, and therefore he's not liable to the death penalty. He's only liable from heaven, and since there were no righteous that were coming, Moshe Rabbeinu killed him, but that was a unique situation. A Medrash proves, like the Rambam, if a goy strikes a Jew, he's liable misa min hashamayim, and not by man. Therefore, we learn from Moshe Rabbeinu that he killed him only because he saw there was not going to be any descendants of his that were worthy of living. And this argument is only if it's min hashamayim. But if there was an obligation to kill him by man, what do I care if there'll be righteous from him or not? He's liable for the death penalty. The Maragia in the Mishnah Melech cites the Peirush HaMeir that also goes on about this situation.